Well, hello there. My name is Tony Hendricks. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views, broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV channel. We are a weekly public opinion show addressing national, international, local issues. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment right of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of this events or captions of this program without express written consent of Larry, Curly, or now Schmo today is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program and the participants. Dave is still on special assignment. Floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I'd start out mentioning the fact that we have a primary election coming up on May the 5th. There are two elections in 2026. The first one will be a primary election on May the 5th. Then there will be a general election on November the 13th. Now, how did we get to those dates? Well, by state law and by federal law, you always hold the elections on the first Tuesday after the first Monday. So it's pretty well set by that legislation. So let's take it from there. I thought I'd start out with the requirements that to get to the polls and vote, you have to be registered. So in terms of the registration deadline, the registration deadline is April the 6th of this year. So you'll have up until then to get yourself registered. Now, in order to register to vote, what do you need? Well, first of all, you're going to have to take with you a government identification. Driver's license is always good. You're going to need a government ID that has your photograph on it. If you don't have a driver's license, you can go to the License Bureau and they will issue you a identification card that will have your name and the other information that's necessary in a photo of you. So that works just as well as a driver's license. Now, in order to register, what you're going to have is a ID. Now, again, the driver's license, and that's considered a temporary ID. What you really need is take your driver's license along with you, but you're going to need to register a valid birth certificate. Now, you only need one of these. A valid birth certificate, a valid passport, but it has to be not, the date has to be within the guidelines. They don't want an expired passport. And then some that very few people will use, but it is out there, a consular report of a birth abroad. So if somehow you were born in another country, you need to go to that consul office in that country. This is the only way you can do it, and get a copy of your birth report or a nationalization document. If you can provide one of those, you'll be fine, and you'll be able to register and then vote in the primary election. Now recall, when it's a primary election, it's 4 parties. Right now we only have 2 parties that are listed on the ballot, the Republican and the Democrat. There are no third party or fourth parties that have qualified to be in the primary election. So those candidates in those parties, if they still can run as independents in the general election, but they have to follow the qualification procedures. Now, in order to vote in the general election, you must have a photo ID. Again, driver's license qualifies. A identification card issued by the U.S. government or by the state of Indiana will also qualify. What that card must have is a photograph, obviously, of you. It must display your name, and your name must conform to the registration that you put in when you registered. Now, here's what the important part of that, and why you always want to keep track of. I registered as, let's just say, Robert C. Pollock, and I did it Robert C. Pollock, because there's a number of Robert Pollocks running around. So in order to keep me straight, I registered as Robert C. On your photo ID, you want to make sure also the driver's license, you show your name the same way. Because the name on your registration, which they're going to pull up because they've got these on data files, and so they have to conform to the name that you have put on your photo ID. Now, in terms of the voting, you just walk in, and they're going to show you where to go. in order to be able to qualify for a ballot, in order to vote, in terms of the procedures themselves. Right now, we're going to have about 32 different places in the general election, as I understand it, where you can vote. And these are open voting places, which means that any place you live in LaPorte County, and you're registered to vote in LaPorte County, you can walk into any one of these, what may be approximately 32 different places around the county of LaPorte. If it's down in Wanata, and you happen to be down there, but you live in Michigan City, you can still walk in and vote in Wanata if you don't think you can make it back to Michigan City, or you want to try to make it back to Michigan City. These are full election centers, and they contain the data that will be needed for anyone who comes in from LaPorte County and wants to vote in one of these centers. Again, the ID that you have must be issued either by the state of Indiana or by the federal government. Now, I also did a little bit of work so far, because a lot of our candidates registered downstate. There's only so many that have gone through the county clerk's office so far, and I figured I would not get into names until about a week or two from now, because all we have is the ones that have filed with the county clerk, and some of those are going to have further opposition from people who have filed downstate. That's true for the judges, the prosecutor, and a number of other offices that are legally filing downstate and just coming back and letting the county clerk know that they have filed downstate. So the county clerk will have those probably in 2 or 3 weeks. Now, the ones that register here, we have what they were, and I've got a breakout of who they are. So not the names, I'm not going to use those today, because first of all, there's, as I understand it, 7 challenges plus out there of candidates who have registered. Now, I think most of these are going to be in the precinct level or in the state delegate level, but a challenge comes generally, but it doesn't always have to, from your county chairperson. They tend to look at people who have registered for state delegate, for people who have registered for precinct committee person, and they're going to try to make sure that A, they follow the rules, that they live in the precinct that they registered to represent, and that a number of other rules are also followed. And if we get into those challenges, somehow I'll go into those. But the ones I wanted to talk about were, we know that the county council has 4 seats up. It's districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have Republicans and Democrats that have registered to run for all of those offices. Now, to run on the county council, for the county council, you have to live in the district that you're registering to run for. We also will have at-large council candidates, county council candidates, but I don't think we run those this year. So as a result of that, those that hold those offices will be there. For county assessor, we have at least 1 Republican, at least 1 Democrat running. For county sheriff, we only have a Republican running. For county commission District 1, we have both a Republican and a Democrat running. Again, county commission is a little bit different in that they run county-wide, but there's 3 districts, and you have to run from one of those districts and represent that district. In the judgeships, we have 4 judges, 4 judgeships that are up for election. They are Superior Court 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in Superior Court 1, we have a Democrat that's registered, but no Republican. But that may be because Republicans and more Democrats registered downstate, and they still haven't gotten the names up. In Superior Court 2, we have a Democrat, but no Republican so far. In Superior Court 3, we have both a Republican and a Democrat running, and in Superior Court 4, we just have a Republican. Again, we may have more that have filed downstate. These names will come up. Now, the other offices that you're looking for, state representative. In Michigan City and the close surrounding area to Michigan City, the state rep represents that area. Then we also have a representative for the rest of LaPorte County. those registered downstate, and the county clerk's office didn't have any of those back yet. The other offices that also will be a downstate registration will be the federal offices. So if you have candidates for the U.S. Congress, we have a district that represents Michigan City, and we have a district that represents the rest of the county. It'll be District 1 for Michigan City, and the rest of the county is in District 2. And again, they have candidates that have registered, but they're all from downstate. There are also some state offices that will be on the ballot. The State Secretary of State for one, and again, those registered downstate, and we will have those eventually. We will get their names, and you will know who's running. And with that, I've nominated Tony to be the President of the United States. So as a result of that,
Wouldn't want that job if you gave it to me. Well, so it's not a secret that you're not announcing names, because you sign up and then there is some procedure before the county clerk sets and formalizes the ballot. There's lots of things to look at. Are you qualified? Are you in the right district? Does the party checking your background? Because Indiana is a closed primary. You have to pick one of the two. You don't get to vote for anyone. And they want people in there that vote in the party that they are going to represent. So you're not answering names, not out of a secret, just because the ballot has not been formally set. And the election board will formally set that, and then we could talk about the names on the ballot.
Well, as I mentioned, there are some challenges. So as a result of that, they're going to, assuming that the candidate does not withdraw his or her name, or it's probably the party's county chairman, but not always. If they don't withdraw their objection, then they're going to have to hold a hearing before the County Board of Election. Now, the other thing that becomes important is if you get through all this and one party does not have a candidate in a certain position, let's say I'll pick on the county sheriff's office. We know we're going to get a Republican, but there is no Democrat that's filed that I know of yet. Then after the primary election, the party will be allowed to select a person. And that will be the county chairman's requirement that he calls a meeting of the precinct committee people in the area. So if it's a sheriff, then it would be the entire precinct committeeman from all over the LaPorte County. If it's in a county council district, it would just be for that the precinct committee people in that particular district. Then they could put a name on the ballot.
Yeah, because they'll automatically have a place. And if somebody doesn't sign the primary, and most primaries are single candidates, I think we will see some primaries, both sides will have some people running for a position to be on the November ballot.
Yeah.
So that's the importance of the closed primary, that you and your party get to choose what candidate represents you in November. And now we have voting centers, so you can vote anywhere you want in the county. What's the date you have to file?
You have to file by, let me double check
April
6th.
April 6th. You have to be signed up and registered to vote.
Yes.
If you don't do it, you're not going to be able to vote in the May primary. Now, if something strange happens, and I want to say this every election, if something strange happens when you get to the primary, you get to vote, where early or not, or November or May, if they don't ever leave the polling place, if something happens that they say you're not registered, you can't vote, you can put a provisional ballot in and vote, and they will tuck it away so you can't lose your right to vote. If something's strange, your middle initial doesn't match or something, your address doesn't match, you still have the right to vote. You can ask for a provisional ballot, and then they will adjudicate that before the final tally, and the election board will look at it and make a ruling whether your vote will be counted, and they'll put in the count or not.
I think you have, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think you have 10 days.
Yes.
In order
What do they call that?
from the time you fill out
to cure your ballot.
Yes. Bring it in, and they will go over it. And the other one that comes up, and for years I was the inspector in precinct, where this lady just absolutely would not vote on a machine. I have to have a paper ballot. If you are in one of those positions, yes, we do have paper ballots available for that. It's the same provisional ballot that you would use if, in fact, there was a problem with your address, and they had to go through the files to look it up. Yeah, they'll sit there and fill it. Hell, you can fill it out, and they'll take care of it and make sure that it gets to the county election board to be counted by within 10 days.
We, in America, we do everything possible to make sure you have the right to vote.
Yes.
And your vote counts. So don't be afraid. Don't let anyone tell you you can't vote. Don't let them send you away. You have other options.
Yes.
You don't give up your right to vote. I think this will be a low turnout, which typically it is in an off year. So your vote really could count immensely.
Yeah.
Come a primary inside of a party's election. So come November, you'll have your Republican, Democrat, and you get to pick, or maybe some independents, you get to vote there. But the primary in Indiana is a closed primary. What's interesting I want to ask you is, I don't think it'll happen by this primary because it's too late, but the state is looking and discussing about shrinking the days of early voting.
Yes, they are.
We have 30 days?
No, I was thinking it was 18. But somehow it was going down to 10. You might be right. Maybe it was 30 and they were taking it to 18, but I was thinking it was 18.
But they can't be able to get that done by this primary.
Right.
Because if they pass a law, typically when they pass a law, the governor has to sign it and then it goes into force July 1.
And the legislature's not in session anyway, so it has to go through the legislature.
Well, it's the state legislature.
Yes, yes.
They're still in session. I think they're wrapping up next
they
week.
are in session.
Next week? There's lots of things going on.
I thought they'd adjourned.
No, they finalized all their committee reports and things that would go to the floor to vote. Either if the House has voted on something and the Senate has to vote on it, or the Senate's voted on something and the House has to vote on it, or they both voted, they don't agree, they go to figure out what they're going to agree on, I'll vote on it again before it goes. So they're in that, I think the last week, where you don't have any more committee, but you have to wrap up all your bills that you're going to send to the governor. And one of the funny ones I just read today was, and I don't know why we spent our time on this, the state sandwich of a pork tenderloin. Didn't have enough time to get that into a vote to the House, to the Senate, so the governor could vote on the state sandwich. So we're not going to have a bill about the state sandwich.
No, why is this important? Because at all the county fairs, the sandwich purveyors would like to be able to say that this is the state of Indiana recommended sandwich. Tony, where are you?
I like a pork tenderloin, but I think the legislature has far more important things than, and we found out that they did. They were really busy this session, and this bill didn't make it out of the Senate, I think, and the governor's not going to sign it, so maybe there'll be some appetite for a state sandwich next year. That was the article I read. So things like that went through committee that don't have enough time to get through the House and Senate are being, what do they say, they're being left on the floor. They're going to be swept up.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll come back later, maybe they're not, because they're very busy doing lots of things. But I want to talk about, I guess the big thing right now is the Bears. And because they said, we talked last week, that February 27th was the day that the Bears had to make their mind up. Well, they pseudo made their mind up, and I believe the legislature on both sides and the governor are going to give them a longer window with what Indiana is going to promise. The $2 billion to do the Bear Stadium in Hammond at Wolf Lake. That's what it looks like now. That the Bears have made some comments, but they haven't made the comment and committed to actually come to Indiana. So we are at, what do they say, the 1 yard line, the half-yard line, where the Bears have the pressure on Illinois and Indiana.
Yeah.
Now, the comments I read,
I would have said about the 20-yard line, but go ahead.
well, I think they're right there.
You think they're closer, huh?
I don't think they're close to make a decision, but they got the legislature sitting on the 1 yard line.
Okay.
I don't think the Bears are ready to make a decision yet. I think they're just pushing as hard as they can to get somebody to break, which is Illinois. But the comments I read, because the Illinois governor, Pritzker, was very upset that they canceled their workshop in Illinois and made this comment about Indiana. The things I read in the tea leaves was that the Bears are very upset because first they tried Chicago. They'd like to stay in Lakefront.
Yeah.
And that kind of soured and went south and nothing happened and whatever happened. And then they put all their eggs in Arlington Heights, which is outside of Chicago. In Arlington Heights, they should love it. It's 300 some acres. It's a great, great campus for the Bears and whatever professional sports they will have. But Chicago got upset, and Chicago is the bully of Illinois, right? They're the power broker of Illinois, Chicago. They have all the people, they have all the political influence. Well, they didn't like that much. And when it went down to the state of Illinois and talked amongst the legislators, Chicago pretty much said, listen, if they go to Arlington Heights, we still want our money. We want money from the Bears, even though they're not here anymore. Well, Arlington Heights and Illinois didn't like that because they were kind of strong-arming them because they're not in Chicago anymore. They left Chicago, if that's what happens. And they still want money, even though they're not there. So I believe what's happening is, in my reading the tea leaves, Illinois is working hard to do it. But Chicago's saying, if we don't get any money, we're going to be the poison pill, and if we lose the Bears, sorry we lose the Bears, because you didn't give us any money. And so you got the state and Arlington Heights working in Chicago, and I don't hold it against Chicago. If they left, they still like to get as much money as they can from them, but they left. For whatever reason, they're leaving Chicago, because no negotiation that I hear right now is the Bears want to go to Chicago. It's Arlington Heights or Indiana.
Yeah.
And Chicago is going to be left with, what, a stadium that they can use concerts in or something? I mean, they'll do something with it. And 2030, the Bears' lease up, so they don't have to pay any more money.
Well, that stadium, though, is 100 years old, so.
Yeah, they'll do something with it, but it won't be the Bears.
Well, it's going to take, regardless of what happens, it's going to take a lot of work to put that stadium into the kinds of situations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Bears were, as a professional team, they were footing that bill.
Yeah.
Because they had games there during the NFL. So I think we're going to see, I don't know what we're going to see, that Chicago is going to have to do or get something before Illinois makes a deal to take them from Indiana. I think we have a better chance in Indiana. I still don't think they're coming here. I'm happy Indiana's playing this game to the end. As much money as the Bears need to spend whenever planning or attorneys or lobbying, they're going to spend it here. And that money's not going back to Illinois, so let's do what we can. We still have a chance. Let's see if the Bears would like to come to Indiana. Now, if you look, again, at some of the comments, I had them here from last week. Here they are, that the Indiana privately funded, the same deal they gave to the Bears, they have that same deal right now at the Colts. And they funded their stadium.
The Colts are a professional football team in Indianapolis.
The Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
And they're not doing too well, but they funded the Colts lease, which I thought was funny, ends in 2030. The same time the Bears lease ends.
Yeah.
But the strange thing was that the Colts lease, and the Colts, I don't remember where the Colts came from. Colts came to Indiana.
Now they came from Baltimore.
Called from Baltimore. Colts came to Indiana because we probably gave them $1 billion in a new stadium.
Yeah.
We had the Hoosier Dome, and then we have now the new stadium. I can't think of the name.
Lucas Oil Stadium.
Lucas Oil Stadium. Got a roof on it, so we gave them that, and we signed a lease till 2030. But here, they still owe money. The Colts, or the stadium, still owes money for the Colts being there. So if the Colts get upset, or somebody likes to move the Colts, or we don't offer the Colts the same $2 billion we give to the Bears for something they want, tax breaks or whatever, they might look at another place too that wants a professional team. And this is crazy to say, but it is possible. It's way out in the realm of possibility that you have the Indiana Bears and the Chicago Colts. If Chicago says, wait a minute, we lost the Bears, and Illinois says we lost the Bears, maybe we turn the tables on Indiana and steal the Colts. Because they can go, pro teams can go if they want.
Yeah.
That's a crazy way out there.
But I really don't think you're going to see that happen, because Indianapolis happens to be a very growing area. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, a lot of younger people, which means that the fans that they are connecting with are going to be there for a long, long time if they stay there. That's not true in Chicago. You got a lot of younger people that are leaving the Chicago area. And as a result of that, their fans are getting older and older, like me and Dave. So Tony's not.
I think at a minimum, just like the Bears are doing, the Colts will leverage their negotiations that they just gave the Bears $2 billion. And we would like to stay in Indianapolis because it's growing and it's a good town. But we want more. Because right now, and this is a comment section, Indiana is apparently offering essentially a Colts deal of 100% taxpayer funding stadium to the Bears that does not match the outstanding debt term. And the Colts have the most subsidized stadium in NFL history. So I guarantee the Colts are going to want more from Indiana, especially if the Bears, not even if the Bears actually come to Indiana, just because we've offered to the Bears $2 billion. The Colts have a very good negotiation position right now with Indiana. I don't know either way. I think the Bears will stay in Illinois. I think Arlington Heights is the best place for them. I think that's where they can grow the most and get the most profit and the most revenue, and probably a domed or enclosed stadium, which potentially means a Super Bowl. And that will make, I think Illinois is short-sighted not to see the money that could be from the Super Bowl in the Bears. Maybe the Bears next year in the Super Bowl, who knows? But somebody will be in the Super Bowl, and they'll be in Illinois.
Well, as long as Tony's throwing all these projections out, I'm going to throw a couple out. Number one, Fernando Mendoza is the number one target in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
If he hasn't, I'm sure his advisors have already talked to him about two potential places, Miami and Indianapolis. He's going to be a godsend to either one. He's going to sell a lot of tickets before he even plays the very first game in one of those two places. We'll have to see what happens, but right now the number one pick is Nevada. Nevada does not have they have a pretty bad offensive line. They're not going to be able to protect him. And his agent's got to be thinking, Nevada could get some really choice draft picks and some money, a significant amount of money for that first draft pick. And I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing going on. And Miami just made the first move. They cleared $56 million of cap space. So we shall see, but I have a feeling that that's going to be one of the things they're going to look about. Now, my other prediction is that probably the Bears will not come to Indiana. But the place that probably would have the best chance of coming here would be the White Sox. The White Sox have, again, a very elderly fan base. They've been there since probably 2010 or 2001. I think the Sox won the World Series in 2002. But that was a long time ago, and people have forgotten. The White Sox need a clean place to go. They will still hold their fans from the south side of Chicago if you put this in northwest Indiana, and they can get a big fan base real quick in northwest Indiana. And I would think that they might be the team that we would actually be able to get from Chicago.
I think if they're willing to give the Bears $2 billion, the off chance they might give the White Sox $2 billion to come to the Indianapolis White Sox. Indianapolis doesn't have a basketball team, and I think the town's good and ripe.
But I don't think they're going to be ready to pay $2 billion for the White Sox.
No.
That's going to be the problem. A nesting place for the White Sox is northwest Indiana. You would get a lot of very new fans. Fans in Indianapolis already got Colts tickets. They got tickets to the Pacers, which is the NBA team. And they got tickets to the Indianapolis 500. How many more tickets do you need? Some of them got skyboxes in each of those places. Yeah. It's going to be pretty hard to sell a 4 skybox. When the White Sox come to northwest Indiana, it might not be too hard to sell some skyboxes.
I think it'd be tough. I mean, my prediction is, and I didn't think it's the Cubs, but I think you're right. Arlington Heights sets up not just the Bears, but there's some other sports corporation that is the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and the White Sox. You could gather all them into Arlington Heights and have one heck of a sports complex.
Yeah.
And we've seen everyone do it. We've seen Las Vegas do it, and Houston started it, right? And we've seen cities want to do that. So you don't just have one team in one venue. You have different sports coming to a venue. And Arlington Heights has got great access, great transportation, highways, trains. It used to be a sports venue, and it's just sitting there. I don't think it'll happen in a short run, but maybe 5 to 10 years. there's going to be a lot of discussion. And this, what the Bears are doing, sets up the whole negotiation for anything else that comes in the future.
Yeah.
Because once they anchor that, they are sitting in, and they can make a lot of money. And I don't know if they'll leave, United Stadium or the Chicago White Sox. Was it guaranteed rate field? I don't know, but that puts a huge hole in Chicago. I don't think they want to, because Chicago would lose more revenue, and they will make a deal not to leave everyone leave as a mass exodus to Arlington Heights.
Well, the problem, but again, it goes back to, if you look at the next 10 years, Chicago's done nothing to stop the outflow of people. They're going to be California and New York, where people are leaving en masse to get out of there. And I think the Bears, the White Sox, the Cubs are all well aware of this. And so they're going to have to do something. And I think the easy thing for them to do is either move to Arlington Heights or come to Northwest Indiana.
Because this isn't something new. So I've been around long enough to know. If you look at Chicago and New York in the 70s, they were not pretty places to be.
No.
They were horrible places to be. Turned it around. Now we're kind of falling back again. So
Well, we went down below where we were in the 70s. I mean, both New York
and Chicago and the White Sox and the Bears and the Bulls all stayed. They were all there, and they didn't leave. But
we still had in downtown Chicago, you still had the Magnificent Mile.
Yeah.
You still had the Christmas decorations in Marshall Field, in Carson Pirie. We don't have any of that anymore. Long gone.
now to go to the Bears and quarterbacks and whoever going to this year, I think is going to be the wildest year you've seen in talent in the NFL. Between name, image, likeness, and the money these people are throwing around, and the needs of different teams, I don't think even a scorecard would keep up with this one before it's all said and done, and we get to the season where the first kickoff is taking place. Because I do agree, Mendoza's probably in Miami, but how it gets there, the negotiations and the player changes are going to be out of this world.
Yeah.
Because they're all jockeying for name, image, likeness, and contracts. They know their career's short. They know they have a limited time to make money. And it's up to them to make as much as they can. And things happen. You don't get to play in many years. You get hurt, or your team doesn't do very good. You don't have a good defensive line. You don't have a good offensive line. I believe, if I'm correct, that Seattle Seahawks was put up for sale recently.
Yeah.
So right there, they run the Super Bowl, and they realize, hey, this franchise is worth a lot of money. Let's see how much money we can get.
Yeah.
And we're going to – that was rare.
Oh, yeah.
It was rare for franchises to ever change hands, but now they're changing hands like no tomorrow.
Well, the Bears are still in the Hallis family.
And that's an option that, who knows?
I think they're the only ones where it's still in the family from the original owner. Green Bay, but Green Bay is a city-owned situation.
I mean, you look, we can't say that'll never happen, because look at the Bush Corporation, Budweiser. Family-owned, right?
Yeah.
And they sold to a nationwide, international conglomerate, and they got billions of dollars. So the answer that the Bears will ever sell to the family, that's probably up more in the air than it's ever been.
Well, yeah, you get down great-grandkids, great-great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids. All of a sudden, just splitting up the money gets to be a real problem.
And that happened with the Bush family and Budweiser, and that was billions and billions of dollars. What was it? InBev bought them. And who ever thought, I mean, I was in St. Louis for a few years, who ever thought the Bush family would ever sell the Budweiser Corporation? They did. And you're right, they got down to kids and great-grandkids and cousins and uncles and aunts, and it just got to be a lot of people, and I don't think the leadership was there to run it, and they said, this is a good deal, let's just cash out.
The Wrigley sold the Cubs, and it's still Wrigley Field.
And the Wrigley sold the Cubs, I mean, that happened, and the Cubs have a great Wrigley Field, and the neighborhood's awesome. But at some point they know, and the Rickett family, right?
Ricketts, yeah.
They made discussion about whether they were going to stay there either in their negotiations with everything surrounding Wrigley. And it worked out.
Yeah.
So who knows what they'll do? Who knows what's going to happen? But I get ready for this season of players and trading and signing up contracts. I agree. Again, it's going to be Miami with Mendoza, but
Yeah.
I think everything else is up in the air.
Don't count Indianapolis out, but there, it's between those two. But you're right, Miami's in the lead.
And last year we went to the spring, and who was the quarterback for the Bears?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams. He made it. His dad made it known he wanted to go to Miami.
Well, that was
He made a good choice of
Yeah.
staying in Chicago, but
Yeah.
it was kind of crazy last spring when his dad said he wanted to be in Miami.
well.
Made no bones about it.
He knew that Miami's looking for a quarterback.
And
Yeah.
who knows what could happen? But
Yeah.
I want to move on to the issue of today right now is NIPSCO. And I had this article that I had from July 23rd last year, 2025. NIPSCO seeking state approval to acquire wind farm, increased bills. We told you in July, and now all we hear, and I'm proud of the city council to pass a resolution to find out why NIPSCO's bills are so much, because they are literally outrageously high. I'm glad Representative Pressel is asking the IURC to look into this. I don't think anything will come of this. Again, we talked about it last week. I believe in controlling your destiny. It's fine that the city council passed a resolution. They should take the next step. And we talked about it last week, I'll say it again. Take the next step of at least planning and maybe trying to apply for a permit for our own power generation in Michigan City. And we will never get to the point where we'll do it. But that negotiation will have NIPSCO thinking twice. And when it comes down to state, there is discussion, I haven't followed up on it, about changing the way the whole utility functions in Indiana, the way we look at rates, rate increases, and compared to what other states do. One part of that equation was you would have the ability to buy your electricity from somebody else. Still pay the transportation, just like we have the ability with gas. We can buy it from somebody else. We still pay the transportation charge. That alone would help put some weight on NIPSCO, that if we're buying it from AEP and they're losing a customer, they might think twice about going back down to IURC and asking for another increase, or maybe lowering prices. That's a small, but that's something I think the council in Michigan City, the LaPorte County Council, LaPorte City Council, the commissioners, the mayors, and everywhere in Northwest Indiana should be lobbying the state to say, listen, we want to control our own destiny. We would like the ability, at a minimum, to buy our electricity from somebody else through the same lines we have now. That's a solution that I think the state reps and the governor could get behind with the IURC and pass legislation to give us that in the immediate term. The second term is we have to own our own destiny and say we're going to look at possible generation of electricity in Michigan City, by Michigan City, for Michigan City. And it'll never get to where we build it. And if it got to where we build it, they would buy it from us and pay us a good tidy sum. But we can control our own destiny. A resolution is fine. I'm sure NIPSCO got it and thought, oh, here's a resolution from Michigan City. They'd like to lower the bills. Oh, we'll work on that. Have a good day. I mean, there's nothing binding there.
Well, Tony and I have a slight difference on this because I don't want to see us buy the electricity from AEP. I want AEP to come in, and you'd have to get the utility regulatory commissions to go through this and make an offer to buy the electrical portion of NIPSCO. NIPSCO was built in a totally different environment for totally different situations. That environment was gone and those situations are gone. The idea was that they were going to have generating stations spread in their little area, but they were going to supply energy to very large corporations, the steel companies, Alice Chalmers in LaPorte, Whirlpool in LaPorte, Pullman in Michigan City, Joy in Michigan City.
We were an industrial center.
We were an industrial center. And they had their generating stations built that way. And they never changed these generating stations. And they have become a liability now because they don't have the ability to generate the kinds of electricity that these very small units need. And the power lines were set up to deliver from a very short geographic area into these large companies, so that they could use the kind of electrical energy they would use, and NIPSCO would get paid for it, and it would subsidize the small houses and this kind of thing. That's not true anymore. NIPSCO is good at natural gas. They have a solid natural gas situation. I think they've got 3 times the customers in the natural gas area, or in the gas area, as they do electrical customers. That would make for them a very good situation in terms of keeping their name and their ability to make money in the gas area. It would be nice if AEP, and again, I got to tell people I do own 250 shares of AEP, no big deal, not in that situation. And
out of 250 million, some huge amount.
Yeah, it's a fraction. Well, anyway, I think that would be the best solution. I know what Tony's talking about. Right now, we can't find engineers, electrical engineers, and journeyman electricians to do a lot of things. These small areas, finding the kinds of electrical engineers and the kind of journeyman electricians that we're going to need, it's going to be really difficult. You're going to have LaPorte, Michigan City, Kingsford Heights, Wanata, La Crosse bidding against each other.
Yeah, so
that's going to be the huge
It's a
problem.
negotiation tactic, and I think the first step is to get the state to allow us to buy electricity from wherever we want. That puts some pressure on NIPSCO to think twice that maybe we're going to buy our electricity from AEP. And that would help AEP negotiate with NIPSCO if they could buy their electric
One more
division.
thing, we should tell them, their AEP is already in Indiana, it's already in LaPorte County. They cover the eastern part of LaPorte County, and they cover Indiana all the way over to the Ohio line.
Yep.
So they're
Pretty
already
big.
here. Yeah.
They're, you know, it's Indiana Michigan Power owned by AEP. So that helps them negotiate, because I don't know any inside information, but NIPSCO, I think, would like to sell their electric part because they make good money on gas. They do good service. They keep our electric running. When the storm comes, the people at City Council talked about that. They do a better job than AEP and I&M Michigan Electric. So if we could help AEP in their negotiations buy NIPSCO, so we don't want to pay an exorbitant rate. We don't want to pay a supercharge for NIPSCO Electric. We want them to get a fair deal, so we don't have to pay a lot when AEP comes in here. NIPSCO wins, AEP wins, we win. And the next part of that was, if we could also help AEP in their negotiations. If, again, I don't have inside information, if they want to buy NIPSCO Electric and they were amenable to it, if we start talking about generating our own power, and by doing this, our own power source, we engaged AEP, because they have the technical expertise to help us do this. AEP would win, or if they're willing to buy the electric distribution from NIPSCO, would win in that negotiation. So I'm sure AEP would help us. They already run nuclear generating plants up in Michigan. They know exactly what to do. They know all the permitting, they know all the safety, they know all the engineering, they know everything about that. And in fact, they're going to put up I understand they're putting up a small nuclear reactor out by Palisades as another one, because they know they need to provide, like you said, they need to provide power to their new center, their big customers, where our industrial, their data centers.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps us. And I think, again, the resolution was great. I commend the City Council for doing it, but take the next step. Let's actually go downstate and get us to be allowed to buy electricity from AEP or Duke or whoever through these transmission lines, just like we do in natural gas, and get us some sort of negotiation ability with NIPSCO. Because right now, they have approved rates. The IURC approved. They're not going to take it back. There's no way they're going to take it back. And they're going to try. I believe NIPSCO will try, but it's not where they function the best. They function best in gas.
Yeah.
So maybe electricity is something they could move on from. And we could all be happy, because the NIPSCO rate, and I brought this article up, they are going to, NIPSCO is looking to develop the Templeton Wind Farm in Benton County. Benton County. Pretty far south,
That's
right?
south of here, yeah.
Pretty far south. And it consists of 71 turbines, and they expect it to be online by June 30th, 2027. This is a July 23rd, 2025 article from Northwest Indiana Times. Brought that last year. Michigan, NIPSCO's thinking about taking this in, and you don't want to hear this. But NIPSCO estimated the Templeton project will cost the average resident consuming 668 kilowatt hours per month an additional $3.48. So you thought your NIPSCO rate was high? Here's another $3.48.
Yeah. Well,
Not going to end.
when you get into these wind farms, again, the big problem there is maintenance.
Why are they selling it? Because of maintenance.
Yes. The problem, you have to keep these turbines at a certain angle. They found that out about 3 years ago in Texas. You get ice on those things, and you got to shut them down because you can't let that angle change. Those are very important. And NIPSCO does not have the money, I don't think, to maintain. They've got a number of wind farms to maintain all these wind farms. When we start to have bad winter weather, like we had about a month ago.
For 3 months,
Yeah,
constant snow, cold, ice.
yeah,
And this company is not Templeton. They're not selling this because they're profitable.
no.
If they were profitable, they wouldn't sell it. But NIPSCO is going to buy it, and they're going to give us, for an average resident consuming 668 kilowatt hours per month, an additional $3.48 a month. So I'm sure that number is low, and we will see. It's not going to happen. And that moves me into data centers with electricity.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
Okay, so data centers. In my private world, we do lots of residential, commercial, industrial buildings. Most people don't understand when you go to a commercial establishment, and don't pick any of these names, but big names, Taco Bell, McDonald's not so much, Burger King, yes. These companies with the big Fortune 500 names want to do a franchise, and you have people that do the franchise. But the people don't own the building. They have an investment group or an investor who builds the building with a lease that's signed by whatever the franchisee for 10 years, typically 10 years. And they say, okay, we can build you this $3 million building, and you could have your franchise, whatever it is, in here, and you will pay us a lease payment for 10 years. That way you don't have to build the building and put the money out front. That's off the books kind of money. So the franchisee and this Fortune 500 companies, or Dunkin' Donuts, whoever, they lease the building from the builder, from the equity partner for 10 years. The equity partner, just like we talked with the Colt Stadium, the equity partner knows that after 10 years, if they don't continue the lease, the building's still paid off and they could sell it or do something with it. So they paid their investment. They own a building that's probably worth something, whatever it's worth, even a third, $1 million out of $3 million, that's fine. It's been paid off. They've taken a tax break. Now we look at data centers. The article I read today, and zerohedge.com is a very neat website, talks about this very discussion, because we talked about this. These data centers, they are flourishing like we've never seen. Because A, we're using a lot of data, and they need a lot of technology to run that data. They need computer equipment, they need RAM, they need disk space, heating and cooling, buildings. We know from the dawn of time that technology gets twice as fast every 2 years and half as expensive. So the discussion is, all these data centers, the billions of dollars, 20, 30, 50, $100 billion data center buildings they're building, by the time they order the equipment, get it installed and put in, it's already outdated.
Yeah.
We have new equipment, faster, cheaper. Now if I dig in, and again I read the tea leaves, the article is discussing that if you have a Google or a Meta data center, Amazon data center, Microsoft data center, and we saw that in Michigan City. I knew this was Michigan City. We have a data center coming in. It's by a private equity firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're building this data center with a lease agreement to
Milwaukee Partners or something like that.
their lease agreement to Google, Microsoft, Amazon, or somebody for this data center. They don't want to own it. They call it off the books. So they might say that Google's building a $100 billion data center, but it's not really Google. Google's leasing it from the equity partner. Because Google's very smart, Amazon's very smart, Microsoft is very smart corporations. They can lease this data center, this whatever, mile-long building all over the United States or the world, knowing that when technology gets faster and cheaper and smaller, they won't need the building, but you know what? It's not their building. They don't care. So then I need half the data centers. Well, I need 30% less data centers. But I don't own the building anyways. After the 10-year lease, I could walk away. If I built 5 data centers and I run it for 10 years and technology and it's got faster and cheaper, I can get rid of half of them. My lease is up. I don't care. I can put the new equipment in the data centers I have left and run the same amount of data. So get ready, folks, because we've seen all these data centers. And this is what's going to happen. Technology is going to get faster and cheaper and smaller. And they will have less data centers. And I don't know, the discussion I have with my friends was, what are we going to do with these buildings? I don't know. Because the equity partners have got paid. They spent the billions to build them. They got paid. They own a building free and clear. They can do whatever they want with it, even if it isn't data. It's going to be interesting. And that could happen in 7, 10 years.
Well, the buildings themselves, if the situation, as Trump has now got it lined up to bring these corporations back from overseas and to bring the industry with them, the kinds of equipment that they're going to need, especially the robotic type equipment and that sort of thing, you're going to need these buildings with.
They'll be ready to go.
Yeah, they'll be ready to go. That's the whole point.
And that's what you have some discussion, which we can go to, was the tariff question today.
Oh, well, before we get to the tariff question, because that is going to be one for the next year and a half. But let me just, I worked up because I got a couple of grandkids that are sending out, and they've got their acceptances to various schools around, and they're staying in the state of Indiana. So I was happy about that. But then I decided that, you know, when you have these conferences to concentrate on where the kids are going to school, they always talk about the big schools. You get Indiana University, you get Purdue University, you get IU Northwest, you get IU South Bend. Now, you know, IU South Bend, at my age, they think of a small community college. IU South Bend's got 5,000 students, and they're moving up. So I thought it might be kind of neat just to talk about, if your student gets, let's say they get accepted to one big school, but they get turned down for a couple of others, and they decide that, you know, I'd really like to go to a small school. I'd really like to know the dean. I'd like to know, you know, all of my profs. And I'd like to have a prof and not necessarily a teaching assistant or a research assistant. Let me give you the names of some schools that are close. Number one, I was going to start out with Bethel University. It's in Mishawaka. It's a very small school. And if you've got somebody in your family, a son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, that's thinking about, you know, I'd like to see a small school, let them think about a school that size. A couple of other ones, Goshen College in Goshen, Indiana. Holy Cross College on the campus, well, it's part of the campus of Notre Dame, but it's a very small school. The Ivy Techs, and I think there's 50 of them around the state, and maybe a few more. They have 7 campuses in this area, 50 of them around the state. One of those might be something they'd like. In addition to that, we've got, let's see, did I get everybody? Oh, I missed one. Marian University, which has just picked up Ancilla College. Ancilla College is right outside of Plymouth, Indiana. So if you got a son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew that's thinking, I'd really like to see what a small school looks like, get them some information from one of those schools, because a lot of times they don't even have people at these big conferences. Get them some information from a couple of those small schools and let them take a school visit to one of those.
The beauty of the small schools, even though they seem more expensive, your scholarships are far higher. Yeah. So it's good to look at the small schools, because even though you're not in the big, huge national school, your attention is greater and your scholarship's usually higher, and they do a very good job. I mean, if you want to look at a small school, you don't have to be locked into a big, monstrous school. Again, I had TAs, research assistants. How many professors did I really know? did I ever even seen the chancellor?
Yeah.
Probably never ran into the chancellor on campus. I teach at Northwest, and Northwest is growing, and it's kind of smaller, but Purdue Northwest is a good little school.
Yeah.
We used to have, PNC used to be out in Westville. That was a great little school to have, and you could do a good job at these smaller schools.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just wanted to bring that to people's attention because my grandkids are going through this right now. I got a couple of them. And I thought, yeah, they got accepted to some, they got turned down to others. Maybe they ought to think a little bit about one of these small schools. And I think they are. I got a feeling one of them's thinking about Ivy Tech, and it can still work.
I would definitely recommend Ivy Tech. It could still work. So we're going to tease you about the tariffs next week. But the one thing I wanted quickly is that out of committee and on state, they did vote on the gambling bill, and they're moving it forward, I think, back to the House. What they did was they added one license to Indiana, which would be the northeast of Indiana. The discussion was we're not adding another gambling license to Indiana. We're taking one of the off-track betting licenses that we're not using. I believe there's two. Maybe our state reps could look at that. Off-track betting has Indiana has two open licenses, and one of them is being used for a new license or casino. One of them still open. Maybe we need to look at maybe we could possibly get that because there's some revenue. So we'll see what happens. We only got a couple of minutes left. The bill is going to the House to see if they're going to pass this for a new casino in Northeast Indiana, which shouldn't affect us much, but they're going to keep the other one, the Rising Sun, down in Southeast Indiana is going to keep running. That's something to watch. Again, we have, I believe, a week, and they're going to try to wrap everything up downstate. This ought to be very interesting.
A prediction of mine, if this keeps up the way it is right now with Rising Sun, sooner or later, that Rising Sun is going to be in Annapolis. But
Yeah, so a quick note, Rising Sun is not making a lot of money. And now they want to take, it's a $150 million license for the new casino. They want to take $50 million and put it into an account to let the people down in the Rising Sun County, when they lose them, they won't go broke.
Yeah.
Because their budgets are sitting on them. All right, anything else? We only got one
I'm good. Well, David, take care of yourself. We miss you. We got to have you back. And I think there's probably a couple of commissions around Michigan City that might not want to see this, but you're great for Michigan City and some of those commissions.
We have on good information that he might be back next week. All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's tri-co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Beeler, Tony Hendricks, myself, with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djb1@hotmail.com, or myself at emailagm@yahoo.com. You may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only staff writer, Sarah Bellum. Showing of our program will be on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and also Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. And any other time Andy puts it on, which I believe was on at like 3:30 in the morning. Don't ask me. I was watching a farm show. And plus any time then. And also I've updated the YouTube Navigate 99 Navigate News and Views. YouTube has all the shows except for last week and this week. So with that, have a good day and keep safe.